So what's going on, guys? We're here live at the block with the Brew&Chew podcast. I'm Juan. We got Freddie and we got Pastor Drake tonight.
Hello, hello.
We got a little special edition tonight of the podcast. So we got 2 for 1 tonight. We're gonna go live twice tonight. So we got one of the food truck guys going, and then we're also gonna do some reviews.
Okay.
So first off, with a couple of minutes here, why don't you just kind of give folks a spiel about what you got going?
From Elevating Life Church. I got 2 cameras going on here. This is awesome. This is amazing. Again, Pastor Drake from Elevating Life Church right here in Fort Morgan, Colorado. And of course, we have a lot of things going on. But of course, this time of year, we have the live nativity. We're so excited.
4th year now.
Been doing it 4 years and a little different experience. We'll get into that a little bit later, I'm assuming. But I'm the senior pastor there at Elevating Life Church in Fort Morgan, Colorado.
Nice.
The first question I have for you, Drake, right?
Questions. All right, here we go.
To be the leader of your church.
Now, is this a $10,000 question? Or
This is the $1 million
$1 million
question. Right? This is the $1 million question right here.
why did God choose me, if you will, for the church that I'm pastoring? Well, I believe most people will understand this. And of course, we use language like, you know what, I have a calling from God. So God called me. But what does that mean? It's an interesting story because when I moved to Fort Morgan, I actually moved here. I have a lot of history here. My wife grew up here, married into Fort Morgan, if you will, and started back in '86. I wasn't even a Christian back then, but came back in 2013. I'm a writer. I have some books out there. So I came back to actually do a little bit more serious writing and just kind of get away, but at the same time move back here to spend time with my in-laws, which is Rich and Linda Matson. Many people know them. She was a teacher and all that. And so I was not looking. And back in 2014, there's something that happened at the church I'm currently at. The pastor at the time was decided not to pastor there anymore, and they started looking for another pastor, and through, the wonderful, how can I say this, channels of communication in Fort Morgan, Elks Club, Lion Clubs, all that stuff, there's word out there that there was this pastor that was not pastoring, but here in Fort Morgan, and if I had, would I consider coming and preaching? So what happened was I get a call from the church saying, hey, our pastor's no longer with us. This was in January, now in 2015, after that happened. And they said, would you come and would you give a message, 1 or 2 of them? I said, sure, whatever. So came into the church and preached and left, never expecting to be a pastor because I didn't want it. But I'm a man of God, and I didn't really pay attention, but calls started coming in going, would you consider preaching again, and so on and so forth. And what happened was I kind of woke up because I did hear that this might be a call from God. And so at that point, my wife and I actually started kind of meditating on it and praying and fasting. And before all this, we did a full 20-day fast, which was crazy. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I do 18
Yeah, especially when you got good food, so you don't know how hard that is.
You better not say that word. You can't do that, Freddie. Watch your language.
Hey, amen, brother. We just say amen. Amen. But so what happened was after that, I started with that particular a calling, if you will. I started calling some mentor friends. I started talking to friends and family on, if this is a calling of God, if you will, God is calling me to do this. I need to pray about it, surround myself with wonderful people, and that took about 6 weeks, and then from there I kind of got into the pulpit. Now it's about Easter time in 2015. Then they asked me if I would be the interim pastor, and I said I'll do that, but I've got 2 books to write, other things to do, and well, anyway, I fell in love with them, and I'm like, okay, God, this is a God thing. I have to accept this call. And so at that point, that's when I stepped into the pastorate there at the time it was First Baptist Church of Fort Morgan. And so with that, I stepped in there and just started loving on people and really helping them see a different light than kind of what happened, because a lot of them were going through some crazy times with, their spiritual journey and stuff. So I just kind of guided them and directed them. And by November of 2015, I said, yes, I'll be your pastor. And And at that point, I looked at him and said, I'm only giving you 30 years. That was 9 years ago now, or whatever that is,
So-
9.5 years.
Just to feed off his question, before we go to the next one, the calling.
Yes.
I mean, you always hear people talk about, get a calling or a sign, or
Yeah.
obviously not a phone call, obviously. Get
Right.
people off of that.
That's a
but
good analogy,
What is it? What is it when someone says that? What I mean?
Well, you first get this ask. Somebody's asking something, and at first I don't really pay attention, but then things start happening, experiences, or maybe some conversations. And you're like, whoa, this is kind of too spiritual, if you will, and things start coming together, and you're like, I got to pay attention to this. So it is that spiritual connection that you're trying to get to in the sense of purpose and meaning of life, and is this the direction that God has for me? Because it is not as easy as a phone call, but at the same time, when you're in tune and you decide, you know what, I got to pay attention. It's kind of like tuning the radio or to the podcast, tuning it to the right channel,
Right, Facebook thing.
right, fake, whatever, and then but you start getting attuned to that, and once you get attuned and you start listening. And then it comes to a point. I remember the night I had to make the decision. My wife and I said, we've been kind of fretting over this, and not really worried, but concerned. Is this what God wants? But there was a point I can remember as clear as day that my wife and I talked. We prayed over it and said, listen, we got to pray, and we're going to sleep tonight. And if there's not peace in our souls tomorrow together, we're not doing this. So that happened, and we fell asleep. We were laughing, we were crying, all kinds of crazy stuff. But we woke up and we had peace about it, and that's when we're like, there it is, there's a calling.
I mean, guys, did you get scared? Because I'm gonna give you a situation of mine.
Yeah.
I went to church in Kissimmee, Florida. Before that, I haven't been in church since I was a kid. And I was in the back of the back seat, just listening to the word, and they kept calling me up, to give you the prayers, and I was scared to go up there. And I finally got the courage to go up there, and Pastor, when I tell you that I fell to my knees and cried like a baby, and I've never been into a church ever since.
Okay.
Because it scared the living crap out of me. Like it really scared me to the point that, not that scared like it was evil, but scared into that belief. Like it was crazy.
Can I ask you this? Was it like almost too real?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
I got two guys over here. Yeah, we did that too. But in that sense, it's that connection that people are not familiar with. And then what happens is once you get connected and you don't know what it is, and then as I shared with the church this morning, because we're all crying like babies this morning in church, that's just an emotional release. That's the spirit, if you will, in you that people are not familiar with. And when it happens, can I use the word freaky?
Of course.
I use the F word.
Of course.
Drop the F-bomb. Delete that. Put the beep in. Put the beep in.
That's freaky. That's FR, I think. Yeah, so through that experience, people either, I got to lean into it and be more curious about it, and then try to gain maybe a little bit of truth more, or it's just so scary, if you will. It's like, whoa, this is too much for me, that reality, and then you take a different turn. But that doesn't mean that God is done with anybody by any means, because there's different channels.
What is it with people then these days that they have to almost hit rock bottom before they start searching or looking or see that calling? What is it with that? I see a lot of people, they come on shows, or they go, they're on TV or whatever it may be, but it takes them to hit rock bottom to where you're out.
Well, the one word is pride. I think we realize that. But what is pride? It's not some arrogant, stuck-up person. It's somebody that I can handle this, or I can figure it out myself mentality, or I'm going to just resolve it as I go. And what happens is when you become independent, and we'll say prideful or whatever that is, and you start going off by yourself, and you're going to walk through that door that somebody's already gone through, and you haven't really paid attention to it, or you haven't listened to it. You go through that door, and I've shared this with my children all the time. We're all grown in their 30s now, but I'm like, don't go through that door. What do?
Wow, right through it.
Good, right. I'm like, okay. So you have this choice to make, and are you going to go down this path where your hip is definitely going to get broken? If it's not physically, it's going to be spiritually. And I say that because there's a story in Scripture about that. Or are you going to be wise enough to listen to somebody's testimony or their wisdom and put that together and say, you know what, I'm going to avoid that. And I believe it, so I'm not going to go through that door. But unfortunately, because we are who we are through human nature, we want to go through that. Let's say that door, we want to hit the red button, we want to, and then what happens is it turns out to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And so I've been there, I think we've all been there, where you're like, and it took me until, I'm 57 now, it was until I was 35 until I'm like, you know, I gotta quit going through that door myself. Even as a Christian, I kept going through that door, but I decided I gotta figure out, and we'll just use biblical terms, that straight and narrow way, not only with reason, but with experience, but connected to that power you experienced at church, where you can get those three together, and we'll call that the triune God. All right. And you start connecting with the right people, getting in tune with people that first and foremost believe in you. Yeah. That's huge, to find somebody that do that and help you reach your potential, and willing to be your friend, but willing to be your mentor, also your disciplinarian. Yeah, there you go. I was in the military for 21 years. But with that, you build this team that has your back. And I just wrote an article for the Fort Morgan Times for next Saturday. It's on discipline and what that looks like, because it does look, discipline looks different in the world than it does in the faith. Let's say. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
What you got for him?
All right, next question. I apologize, I gotta bring down.
That's all right.
Remembering to, how would you describe the role social media plays in the church?
Absolutely 100% necessary. And I
Just
say
'cause
that.
just because of now times?
Well, because of technology overall. There's always been technology. And let's go back. Can I do a story on the Bible?
Of course.
If you go back to Genesis and you know about Babylon and all that, there's this story about the brick. That brick represents technology. And you can take that brick and you can kill somebody with it, or you can build a house with it. Same scenario here with social media. Are you going to use it for the good, to benefit and really add value to people, yourself, and the bigger picture of reality? You can use it for evil just like anything else. So in the right hands, it is absolutely wonderful. You know, and I don't know if this goes hand in hand. It's technology, the AI. You know, that's all coming. Yeah, it's scary, but at the same time, it's nothing more than a brick if you think about it. And if you use it wisely, and you use it to benefit yourself, others in the community, I know that's where you're kind of going with all of this. It's great.
But I think it's hard because there's so many people that want to use it for bad versus the people that want to do it for good.
But whatever you focus on magnifies. So if you focus on that goodness and you want to add value and help people out, it becomes good, and it's extremely good. Yeah.
So you think that also goes hand in hand? You could say that's also what's wrong with society or people today. Too much technology, too much internet, too much Facebook, too much TikTok.
That's right. So discernment and discretion goes with social media. Right. And so discernment is how much is good. We had a conversation earlier with my wife and a bunch of people around our table at my house, and we were talking about phone, and somebody yelled out, "Oh, you hate your phone." I do hate my phone. But it's necessary in our day and age, and so I have other people helping me with it. But at the same time, again, going back to how am I going, is this brick going to be used for good and provide a benefit like a home and everything that goes with that? Same thing.
Just like tonight. I mean, there's no way we can get our message out tonight. What we're gonna, what we're gonna end up the show with later on, but we couldn't get that message out to everybody unless you went door to door.
Yeah. And if you know the Great Commission, it is go out and reach the world. Ta-da! Yeah. What a tremendous tool to do that, and for what it would have cost, let's say 25, 30 years ago compared to now.
I don't know how we made it then.
Yeah, right. That's right. And I remember I've been in ministry for years now, where if we're going to go shoot a commercial or do something like this, you're talking $20,000-$50,000.
And then try to get it on prime times whenever you're seeing it.
Yeah,
so you can't record it, watch it later.
Yeah. Look at the benefit just to your everyday person. And we are very creative. We didn't have the money back then. Now kind of with everything we have, it becomes effective and efficient if you use it right. And just, again, I keep using that word benefit because that's what we're leaning into, a spiritual benefit, but also a practical benefit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you think, so overall, I mean, you believe, I mean, obviously you're a man of God. The reason probably why we've met, we came in contact by our people met other people.
That's right.
In reference, or how do you want to say it? Call this person. That's how we all came together to do this tonight. So someone like myself, that's where where I'm going with it. So when people do podcasts, one thing I always look for and I watch for is, I want you to be true. I want you to be real.
That's right.
You can't have a podcast unless you yourself put yourself out there.
That's
and
right.
be real
Yeah,
about
that's right.
what you're trying to put out to the public. So you being a man of God and me having this question, if a person, and this is myself, talking about myself, so I'm not so everybody can, I don't want anybody to hate on me, say, oh, well, you're doing this for that. Person like me that may be, let's say, I'm in my 40s, mid-40s, looking for direction.
Looking good.
Okay? Looking for direction.
Yeah.
Have questions.
Yeah.
How would you sell me? Now, I guess I want to say sell me, but how would you get me to come to your church to listen to your word?
Okay. Well, if we were just sitting down and having a nice hot tea, I would just sit down with you and say, okay, and I'd make a statement like this. We'd have a conversation about, do you feel you have direction in life? Are you getting aligned with life? And are you moving in a way that is going to really help you reach your potential? That would be the first conversation I have with you. But at some point, I'm going to ask you this. Do you have a goal? Do you have a target, if you will? Because it's very clear. A human soul, that does not have a well-established aim, or we can say target, loses itself. And so I'd ask those questions and be discerning to see if there is direction, because you can have purpose in the sense of your own human experience and with other people. But then I'm going to lead that to the human soul, where do you have eternal purpose with that? But most of the time, I deal with lost souls, and that is just because they have no direction, no alignment, or there is really no movement in anything except they're what I call a greasy rag life, that you're just kind of cleaning the windows, but nothing's happening. So I would lead you in that direction, and then I would ask you, do you have a faith? Do you first and foremost believe in God? And then through that, because I am a Christian, I would lead you to Jesus Christ as the one human being who has figured this out perfectly, then to direct you to what that looks like in the bigger picture of reality first, and even in divine reality, which is God, and then bring you to where you're at and say, how do you become responsible now in your role as a human experience, and how are you going to get your love ignited, and how are you going to develop a character that's going to allow you to direct yourself, move yourself in a way that's going to hit that target that you want. And it doesn't have to be a pastor. It could be whatever you're doing in whatever calling you have. But then you set that down in place and help people understand that. And then once they trust you, then what you do is like, well, let's have a little bit of understanding. Let's understand what your skill set is, your capabilities. Let's understand your character. That's huge. It takes a lot of character to do this in the sense of week after week. And then just, again, let's look at your track record to see if you continue to go through that door. And let's see if I can't help you get here. And then every time I'm leading to Jesus. That's my faith.
Do you believe that there's a difference between character and reputation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's night and day. Yeah, because most people actually, that is their goal, reputation, and they got it backwards. What they need to do is focus on a good character so they could have a good reputation. But most people go after reputation and they miss character altogether.
I think people see that's what others believe first is their reputation before they believe character. Right?
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't work if you think about it. And that's just, as I share, a lot of people are flying upside down. Now, I don't know if you know this, I was in the Air Force for 21 years. So I'll use this analogy. It's a beautiful story. A lot of pilots in the Air Force, they go through training, and what happens is they get into, let's say, their jet, and they're training, and the training instructor says, I want you, as they're flying, to pull the joystick. And what happens is they want to ascend up, but once they pull that joystick, what they do is pull it up, they think they're flying right, they hit the ground and kill themselves.
So Goose or Maverick? Which one were you?
I like Maverick. I'm a Maverick. That's the reason I'm here. Nobody else will do it.
So
In my church, that is.
So into that, someone
Yeah.
like me that's maybe I'm looking for direction. I want to expand on what I'm learning, what I want to learn, what I
Yeah.
want to see, where I'm going.
Yeah.
A good thing would probably maybe be this weekend that's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how would that help me out? What you guys got going at the church?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the live nativity, as I shared earlier, happening again at Elevating Life Church now. It was First Baptist Church. We're now Elevating Life Church. And this is the 4th year we're doing the live nativity experience, and we're calling it an eternal experience. So you can come and actually experience it through characters and live animals. You can experience the baby Jesus and Mary and all that, and really get a sense.
And ask questions, correct? If I'm
You can talk to the characters. You're going to talk. You can kiss the camel if you want. It's up to you.
for anyone before that. Check out the camels.
And so, but it's going to start at 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve. That's December 24th, of course. There's a 3-hour window. So from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you can come and actually walk through the experience. It used to be a drive-through experience, but we had so many people, can we make this a walk-through experience? We're like, yeah, let's do that. And so we're going to walk through it. And then at 5 o'clock, we are going to do a 30 to 40 minute Christmas Eve service. Okay. But we're going to use the characters and the live animals to bring that all alive in that particular message. You'll hear a word from Abraham. You'll hear a little thought from Mary. Of course, you'll hear a message from me. But from that, we'll wrap that up no later than, that'll be 6 o'clock. And then from 6 o'clock to 7, that walk through experience again. And then we'll have a special guest in that hour for, you can probably figure this out for the children.
Nice.
And what that is. So it's our 4th year of doing this, and we're so excited about it. And again, it was a dream. But then how do you turn a dream into reality, right? Because that's kind of what you're talking about. Because I got a dream, but everybody's kind of going all over the place. Well, we're so fortunate. We've turned this dream that we had 6 years ago, and now it's a reality year after year. And we just want to get better and show people that life is about getting better, not backing up and getting worse. And so a little bit at a time, we always add something new so people can really experience that first birth, if you will, the first coming of Christ.
So how are you going to, I know last time you did the drive-through, I was telling Freddie about it. See, Freddie's new to the area, so I was explaining to him what was going on. You had cars backed up to the liquor store. You had cars backed up down
Yeah.
Brew&Chew, down
Yeah,
to
that's correct.
power,
Yeah, that's
power
right.
plant.
That's right.
How are you going to fit all these in parking and kind of shuffle them in and out?
Well, don't say this to anybody, but I'm really hoping that football field parking lot is open.
Oh, nice.
to be honest, but
We might be able to put the word out in someone's ear.
the nice thing about the drive-through is you're in a nice car. We had a radio station piping through
cool.
everything, but this time you're gonna have to park and come through it, and so
So
with
there was
that,
a ton of people.
yeah, and if you recall, we have candles up and down the road leading you to the actual event, and we have security out there as well, and people directing traffic, and it is quite the event. You're absolutely right, and queue all the way, actually going.
We had all the way up West Street to
Yeah.
the liquor store, and then all the way down Q down towards going towards Brush, but down at least down to Sherman Street. I think there was a line when I checked a couple of times. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see the crowds because the scene is now back of the church. We had a lot of property back there. I don't think people realize that. So we decided to do the walking experience back there. But depending on how many people are there at the facility at good night at 5 o'clock, it's going to be interesting. It's in God's hands at that point.
So it is a free event.
Absolutely.
It is obviously a family event.
Yep.
Encourage all the people to go down, come to the service, correct? You
If
said
they'd
there's just
like-
a
yeah.
service in between.
Yeah, well, we want to respect, we know there's other churches, so that's why we kind of did it this way, where folks can come at 4 o'clock, because typically you'll have a Christmas Eve service at 5 or something, so they can come and go through that. But those folks that don't have a church, or perhaps they want to join us for that Christmas Eve service, that's why we do it right at 5 o'clock, and I shouldn't say this, but the Bronco game is at 5:45 too. And you hear, but don't worry about that. No, it's a factor, you know. And
But
so,
our technology can record it, watch it later.
yeah, that's right. But at the same time, I share that because we're trying to think of all the details to make sure that you have the best experience you can. Because when it comes down to it, it's not really about the event. In our reality at Elevating Life Church, first and foremost, we want to, show people through all of this what this may be like or what it was like. Of course, we're never going to really experience that. But at the same time, get that message and thinking and pondering and get it into their imagination. They can ask questions. And even at the end, I will share what is known as the plan of salvation. This is how you connect to the door. And this is the door you want to go through rather than the door we've been talking about. And this is where you begin that journey. Not as, can I say, a religious kind of zealot, but as somebody who wants pure religion, who wants to experience that without being freaked out every time, and walking through that and know there's a church here that loves you and we want to help you, and understand that you're created in the image of God first and foremost. And through that, there's a church here that really wants to help you, and that's going to be the message, the plan of salvation.
All right, so bouncing off of that, right?
Yeah.
I come from the inner city, aka the hood.
Yeah.
So if you can give a message, right?
Turn the phone back on, bro.
It's on.
Turn it off, right? There you go. Have to be locked. There you
So
go.
what message do you have for the people that use the brick to do harm but now want to build a house?
Log it back in.
Good question. That only leads, so you're from the hood, right?
Yeah.
And if you've been there, you know this. That one bad thing leads to another bad thing. And now we might define that as good because we hate that person. But if you're hating somebody, you're not forgiving them. But what happens is whatever you focus on magnifies. There's no way you can get around it until you figure out that this action causes this action, causes this action. You're going down a road that you don't want to go down. And then you get to the point, if you're not careful, you're in a place you never wanted to be. And so you're going to have to make a choice. And that's what I love about being a human being is we have free will and free choice. No matter where we're at, even though some conditions are bad, we always have a choice to either do good, even in the worst situations, or we have the choice to do good and develop that and transform our life. But a lot of people don't use this word, but we also want to transcend our life, that we become a better influencer for good. So you have a choice to be an influencer for bad or good. What is your choice? And you cannot be on the fence about it. I think of an analogy here. This is a cute one. But many people, Christians, they live on the fence. They're neither here or there. They're lukewarm. Or another way to put this with the Christmas scene with the donkeys and the mules that we're going to be using, there's this story about a mule that actually walked up to 2 hay piles, and he had to make a choice which one to eat. He never made the choice, so he starved to death. Yeah, that's what happens with Christians all the time. But not only Christians, that's what happens to humans. Like, you got to make a choice. Most people, but I will say this about those who are moving maybe in a bad direction. At least they're making a choice, but they need to look at this road always leads to death, always. That means people are getting hurt. That means our communities are being downgraded, and or the bigger picture of reality is not being, being created in a way that's going to create more value in this reality. It's lessening it. And if that's yours, I don't want to be here. Yeah. So, and it's not worth it. So you got goodness, but and part of that is justice and everything that goes with that. We can go there, but yeah.
So real quick before we continue, we still got good feed. It's going live. We still got good sound too.
You still got people on? I saw bored over here.
What? You need to click yours on so this one turns green. Log into it. We still got some sound.
It's waiting to connect to.
Okay, we're good because we still got sound over there. We still got a good live feed. Yeah. So
That look pretty?
yeah. I don't think anyone's come from the back to us that we're disconnected. Okay. So we're gonna just to kind of recap, wrap it up.
Good questions, by the way.
December 24th, Christmas Eve,
Yes,
5 o'clock.
yes.
Go down to the church. No address. We guess we need address. We didn't put that out there. West Street. I don't know the number. We all
Well, the
forgot.
number is like this long, so we just tell them, put in your.
By the football field. By
Put
the
into
Fort
your
Morgan,
phone. Yeah,
the
right.
Fort Morgan Mustang football field. Let's do that.
Because it's a county road, so it's West Street, and the address across the way, which is city, we're county, is 3 digits, which I believe is 314 or 316 right there. You can't miss us. We're right next to the Legion football field, and we're the only church in between the football field and the junior high.
And the canal.
Yeah, and the canal right there.
So again, the 24th, 5 o'clock, down by the Fort Morgan Mustang football field.
That's right.
Get lined up, bring the family, check out the nativity scene.
Dress warm.
Dress
They said
warm,
it's
just in
gonna-
case.
It's gonna snow. Something
Yeah.
else, so.
But let me add to that. We do have cameras piping in video into the auditorium that you can witness it as well on the screen.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. So
For those that,
That's a
you
good
know, the
option.
parade was so cold, it
So
wasn't
live
even that
stream?
cold.
Live stream?
Live stream,
Okay.
yeah.
And where's that going to be streamed to?
To our Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can sit at home, check it out, guys. If you're someone like me, like the questions we asked, go check it out. You might find some answers. You might find some direction.
Yeah.
You might find a new pathway to go. I'm always up to look at both sides. I always like to hear both sides.
Yeah.
I always like to talk straight to,
Yeah.
say hear it from people, hear it straight from, the guy that's preaching up at the top, at front and center of everybody. Again, Christmas Eve, make sure you guys check it out. We're going to be put a push out all week for it. We're going to put some clips and some reels of this interview out. Freddie and I hopefully going to get down there and do
Yeah, definitely.
during a rehearsal and maybe a little
That's
bit earlier on if we got to Christmas Eve. I'm closed Christmas Day. Christmas Eve is my busy time, so I'm going to try to
Okay.
get down there to you.
Understand.
So we'll do that again. So this was our first live one. I think it went well. I think it was a good way to start off with you. That's why I pushed for this one too. Thank you, Michelle, because she's the one from the
Michelle
Whiskey
Staley.
Wine, whatever
Yes.
gals.
Yep.
She's the one that made the connect here.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I think this is going to go a long ways for us, for both of us. Anything else you need to add before one last question I'll wrap it up with, but anything else you have?
No, well, one thing is I totally appreciate this. I wish I can kind of pop my heart out and share how much
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for coming. We got the famous Drake here. We're not talking about the rapper. We're talking about Drake the pastor. Come see us, man. Brew&Chew podcast.
you don't want to see me rap.
So the one thing that, I always end up with Q&A. I'm not going to do that one with you because it's on a totally different level of conspiracy theories. The reason I do this
Oh,
is
let's do it. We'll do it another night. I love it.
I just like to break up the conversation. I know you're a man of God, and I'm sure what the answer is to this. But are you the man? If it ends tonight, right after this podcast, are you the man that you think and you feel you're put out to be and want to be?
120% sure.
That's it, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you so much.
Cut it.